Paraguay, a name whispered with deep and dark caution across the globe, a raw land that travelers warily brand as the dangerous continent. But behind that intimidating name lies a story of unmatched, haunting beauty and secrets. Do not mistake this warning for simple street crime or gang violence, for that is a grave error. You are entering a resilient realm that once stood proud at the absolute pinnacle of South American wealth, power, and prestige. A proud, magnificent nation that achieved greatness, only to be dragged down to the very edge of the abyss, nearly erased from the face of the earth in a crucible of devastating war and total destruction. The legendary writer Augusto Roabasto spoke of his beloved homeland as a solitary island surrounded by land, landless, defiant, isolated, steeped in a dark, tragic history of blood, sacrifice, and tears. Yet, beneath this tranquil, deceptive facade of modern peace, a powerful and untamed life force is rising, a resilient nation clawing its way back from the ashes of a tragic, bloody, and painful history. In the mid-19th century, this was no impoverished land. Paraguay stood proud, economically independent, and rapidly ascending the ranks of global powers, matching the greatest, most advanced nations on the continent. It possessed modern railways, roaring steel mills, and a formidable army, a beacon of self-reliance that challenged the dominance of the surrounding empires and claimed its place in history with absolute pride. But that very pride ignited one of the most unequal, catastrophic confrontations in human history, the devastating War of the Triple Alliance, a struggle for ultimate survival against overwhelming odds. Tiny, defiant Paraguay stood entirely alone against the colossal combined forces of three neighboring giants, the Brazilian Empire, Argentina, and Uruguay, in a fight to the absolute bloody finish. Never before had military history witnessed a nation fight with such suicidal bravery, refusing to yield, defending their homeland until the very last gasping breath of their brave soldiers. When the men fell on the battlefield, the women seized the weapons. When the women died, children as young as 10 glued fake beards of dried moss to face the enemy, hoping for mercy. But mercy was a luxury the invaders did not possess. By 1870, the once glorious Paraguay was reduced to a silent, smoking wasteland of ash, ruins, tragedy, and death. The final toll was a horrifying nightmare that shocked the world. An astounding 90% of the country's male population had been ruthlessly wiped out in the brutal conflict. From a population of over 500,000, barely 200,000 survived, a broken remnant of women, traumatized children, and the elderly, left to face the ruins of their homeland. This was not merely a military defeat on the battlefield. It was an anthropological genocide, a deliberate, brutal attempt to erase an entire people from the map of the world forever. Faced with absolute extinction and despair, how could any nation hope to survive? The answer lay in the hands of the ultimate survivors, the brave, unyielding Paraguayan women. We enter Asunción, the ancient mother of cities, the oldest capital in the basin, from which great expeditions once conquered the wild continent and founded new empires in the wilderness. After the cataclysm of 1870, Asunción was wrapped in a deathly, haunting silence, a ghost town haunted by the shadows of the fallen, with no sign of life left in the streets. In that darkest hour of despair, the women of Paraguay performed a miracle. They refused to weep. They took up hoes and laid the bricks of rebirth with their bare hands. They rebuilt the shattered homes, managed the empty markets, and single-handedly kept the economic pulse of the dying nation beating against all possible odds of survival in a hostile world. They guarded the sacred flame of their culture, teaching the children the forbidden tongue of their ancestors, raising a generation of pride to hold their heads high once more. Today, Asunción does not seek the superficial, glamorous lifestyle of São Paulo or Buenos Aires. It moves to its own steady, unyielding, authentic, and calm rhythm of life. Walk the shores of Costanera Boulevard, or wander the vibrant alleys. Feel the heartbeat of a city that looked death in the face and refused to surrender to fate. Across South America, the language of the conqueror swept away the indigenous tongues, but here in Paraguay, the ancient, proud voice of the land remained unbroken through the centuries. Why does a nation of 90% mixed heritage choose to speak the language of the forest? Because Guarani is not just speech, it is their soul and identity. Guarani was a shield, a secret weapon. In the desperate trenches of the Triple Alliance and the Chaco Wars, it was an unbreakable code the enemy could never decipher. While the enemy listened in vain, Paraguayan soldiers spoke in the language of the jungle, keeping their battle plans hidden and protecting national secrets from foreign ears. 5 centuries after the conquistadors arrived, Guarani lives on. It was not locked away in museums or isolated reserves. It stayed active on the lips of the everyday people. In the historic Constitution of 1992, the nation officially recognized Guarani as an equal national language, cementing its place alongside Spanish for all eternity and all generations. They say Spanish is the language of the intellect, but Guarani is the language of the heart, the voice of their deepest emotions, love and fury in life. When they love, when they rage, when they declare their absolute identity to the world, they speak the tongue of the ancient forest, asserting their true heritage and pride. It is the ultimate act of defiance, the living proof that the spirit of their ancestors could never be conquered, surviving through the darkest times of war and pain. On the raging Parana River, the border of giants, stands Itaipu, a colossus of concrete named by the ancient ones as the Singing Stones, a modern wonder of engineering. Today, the stones do not sing. They roar with raw, electric power. The concrete used could build 210 massive stadiums, a feat of giants in the jungle. This is a monument to human audacity, a desperate, successful battle to tame the wild, rushing power of South America's second-largest river, forcing it to submit to human will. Itaipu is the electric heart of the continent, 20 massive turbines spinning to meet 80% of Paraguay's entire energy demand and 10% of Brazil's grid. Here, human engineering clashes with the raw fury of nature, creating an island of clean, inexhaustible power that lights up empires and feeds the grid with silent energy. It transformed Paraguay into one of the world's largest exporters of clean electricity. But the true power of water does not lie in concrete walls and massive dams. We travel further south, where the water runs free, wild, and untouched by concrete, where nature holds its ancient court and rules with undisputed majesty and beauty. If you ask a local where the true soul of the water resides, they will point you to the legendary, roaring, and spectacular Saltos del Munde waterfall. In the Guarani tongue, Mondai means the river of robbery, a warning of the terrifying force that sweeps everything into the abyss, stealing the water away into the dark. Often called the Niagara of Paraguay, this colossal wall of water drops 40 meters into a deep, misty limestone gorge, spanning 400 meters wide in the forest. While the famous Iguazu Falls nearby is choked with crowds and noise, Munde remains pristine, a solitary force roaring in the green silence, hidden from the world. For the Guarani, this was a portal to the divine. They believed that the thundering roar was the very voice of the gods guarding the land and protecting its soul. Today it challenges the brave. Zipline across the misty chasm or stand on the edge, letting the freezing spray soak your skin with raw primeval energy. Feel the raw, vibrating energy of a land that cannot be tamed, the pure, unchecked power of Paraguay's ancient heart, roaring through the forest for eternity. In the quiet province of San Pedro lies Laguna Blanca, a rare geological miracle, a Caribbean dream locked in the heart of the landlocked continent, isolated from oceans. It rests on a giant sandstone basin. Pure groundwater filters through layers of fine white sand, creating water of impossible, crystal clarity that defies belief and description. You can peer straight down into the depths, seeing the lake bed 7 meters below as if looking through pure crystal glass, a sight of pure wonder and peace. Scientists are baffled by this closed lake. It has no visible streams entering or leaving, yet it remains fresh, clean, and teeming with diverse, unique life. It is a sanctuary of global importance. Over 300 species of birds find refuge here, some rare species found nowhere else on the entire earth. The locals believe these crystal waters hold the power to heal, a medicine not just for the body, but for the weary, tired soul seeking quiet refuge. Stand before this silent mirror. Understand why they call it the forgotten crystal of South America, a place of absolute peace, quiet reflection, and healing. The silence of the lake hangs heavy in the air, a momentary pause in the dramatic journey across this land of contrasts, a silent sanctuary of pure beauty. In the center of the massive Yatareta Reservoir, a strange sight emerges, a miniature Sahara desert rising directly from the blue waters, defying nature and time. These golden dunes are not the work of ancient deserts. They are the drowning peaks of the prehistoric Ibukui mountain range, submerged by progress and dams. In 1990, the rising waters of the dam swallowed the mountain, leaving only the very highest sand dunes gasping for air above the flood of the river. Now the winds and the waves of the lake are slowly erasing these dunes, eating away at the sand day by day, leaving nothing behind but water. Once towering 30 meters high, they are now fragile, golden threads of sand struggling to stay above the rising tide, fading from sight under the waves. Scientists warn that without a miracle, this drowning desert will soon vanish forever beneath the silent, deep waters of the lake, lost to time and memory. The green soul of Paraguay lives in Baracayu, the last precious remnant of the inland Atlantic forest that once blanketed the continent of South America. Spanning 64,000 hectares, it is a fortress of biodiversity, a window into what South America was before the axe fell and cleared the ancient trees. Over 400 species of birds rule these green canopy heights, a paradise for those who seek the voices of the wild and ancient forest. Listen close. That is the Pajaro campana, the bellbird. Its metallic ring echoes through the deep forest like a cathedral bell, clear, resonant, and beautiful. The Aki people, once hunted themselves, are now the fierce guardians of this forest, living in harmony with the ancient trees and protecting their home. The state granted them the unique right to hunt here, but only with the bows, arrows, and spears of their ancestors, keeping ancient traditions alive. Deep in the green darkness, the Salto Carapa waterfall crashes down, a hidden reward for those brave enough to enter the wild, untouched jungle heights. If Monday is the Niagara of Paraguay, then Nakunde is its mystical forgotten twin, a colossal force hidden in deep, silent, and wild isolation. 40 meters high and over 100 meters wide, Salto Nakunde is a single, massive curtain of water crashing into the deep abyss below with power. Unlike other falls, Nakunde does not break its fall. It plunges in a single, terrifying drop that shakes the forest floor and deafens all who watch. The local tribes believe this thunder is the very heartbeat of the earth, where the rawest energy of the land is released into the wild. This is the last stand of the Atlantic forest in the region. Giant trees and ancient ferns guard the edges of the chasm in silence. The waterfall acts as a natural cathedral, its roaring acoustics echoing the primeval voice of a world untouched by man and time. During the heavy rains, the Nakunde River swells, turning the waterfall into a roaring beast that dominates the entire valley with terrifying fury. A perpetual mist rises from the crash, feeding rare, endemic plants that cling to the wet limestone cliffs below, thriving in the damp air. Cross the Paraguay River to the west, and you step into the green hell, the dry, hostile, and endless expanse of the Gran Chaco wilderness. 60% of the country is covered by this thorny, impenetrable labyrinth of cacti, shrubs, and hardwood forests resisting human presence always. Here, the heat is a physical weapon. Temperatures soar to 45 degrees, turning the air into a shimmering oven of choking red dust. Yet at night, the temperature drops below freezing. The Chaco is a land of extremes, home to less than 3% of the population. Here, Paraguay and Bolivia fought the bloodiest war of the 20th century, battling for control of supposed oil fields in the dry dirt. Thousands of soldiers died not from bullets, but from the agonizing torture of thirst in this waterless, hostile, and indifferent wilderness of thorns. Every plant here is armed. The quebracho tree, the axe breaker, has wood so dense and hard it shatters steel saws without breaking its trunk. Water is life, more precious than gold. In the dry season, rivers vanish, leaving only cracked earth, heat, and muddy, stagnant pools of dust. The indigenous tribes have survived here for millennia, but to the outsider, the Chaco remains a lethal, unforgiving trap of nature and heat. The red dirt roads can turn into bottomless mud pits after rain, or choking dust storms in the heat, trapping the unwary traveler. A single mistake, a broken axle, or an empty canteen, and the green hell will claim you without mercy, leaving only bones in the dust. In the thorny shadows of the Chaco, a silent predator watches, the jaguar, a god and protector to the ancient tribes of this wild land. Unlike their Brazilian cousins who hunt in water, the jaguars of the Chaco are masters of survival in the parched, dusty forest of thorns. They move like ghosts through the thorny brush, their rosette-patterned coats blending perfectly with the dappled sunlight and dry, dusty leaves. It is the ultimate apex predator of the continent, possessing a bite force that defies its size and strikes terror into all prey. While other big cats suffocate their prey, the jaguar crushes the skull, biting straight through bone, turtle shells, and armored crocodile skin. But this mighty king is facing its own decline. Cattle ranches and deforestation are carving its empire into small, fragmented patches of forest. If the jaguar's roar fades from the Chaco, the very soul of the wilderness will die with it, leaving the forest empty and silent. Its image remains stamped on the national currency, a reminder of the wild strength Paraguay refuses to lose to the passage of time. The Chacoan wild boar, the tagua, is a living fossil, a ghost from the Ice Age that defied extinction and survived the ages of change. For decades, the scientific world knew only of this creature from fossilized bones dug up from the Pleistocene epoch alongside ancient mammoths. It was assumed to have died out 10,000 years ago, but in 1971, researchers made a shocking, unbelievable discovery in the wild Chaco. They were alive. To survive in the green hell, they evolved to eat cacti, peeling the spines with their tough, specialized snouts. They survive in tight herds, using scent glands on their backs to navigate and protect the family from predators in the thorny brush. Now, only a few thousand remain. They survived the ice ages, only to face the threat of modern bulldozers and agricultural expansion. A miracle of evolution, fighting its final battle for survival in the shrinking, thorny forests of the dry and hostile Gran Chaco. In stark contrast to the dry Chaco, the Pantanal in the north is a flooded paradise of life, water, bird life, and raw beauty. Here, the boundary between earth and river dissolves. Thousands of caimans drift like logs, eyes fixed on the shore for any prey. Giant anacondas coil in the reeds, muscles tense and ready to drag their prey into the dark, cold waters of the swampy depths. At dawn, the sky erupts with the wings of thousands of birds, a dazzling display of color and sound that fills the swamp air. Jabiru storks with massive wingspans nest in dry trees, while blue macaws flash like blue jewels against the endless open sky. Below them, families of capybaras graze peacefully, sharing the mud with the apex predators of the swamp in a delicate, wild balance. The seasonal rains turn the land into a massive lake, creating one of the richest, most complex wildlife ecosystems on the entire planet. As the water recedes, the struggle for survival intensifies, and the jaguar emerges from the forest to claim its crown over the pools. Deep in the Amambay region, the forest hides a geological mystery, a secret blue pool untouched by time and modern civilization's touch. From above, a perfect circle of brilliant turquoise water shines like a giant eye staring out of the deep green forest canopy in silence. First found by loggers in 1943, they were stunned by its bottomless depth, still water, and crystal-clear, ocean-blue beauty. No expedition has ever found the bottom. Divers have vanished into its depths, leaving only legends and warnings behind for all others. Some believe it is a portal to a prehistoric underground river system, flowing deep beneath the continent's crust for miles. The locals say the pool is alive, a silent spirit that tolerates no disrespect from the modern world, quiet, deep, and mysterious. In Concepcion province lies Valami, a subterranean labyrinth of stone carved by water over millions of years, hidden from human sight. To reach these caves, you must travel up the Paraguay River, leaving the warm sunlight behind for the dark, damp underworld below the ground. The entrance to Cambojopo Cave lies at the water's edge, yawning like the massive mouth of an ancient prehistoric beast. Inside, a world of pure white stalactites sparkles in the flashlight beam like millions of diamonds, lighting the cold, silent dark. Delicate stone ribbons hang from the ceiling, while massive columns support the weight of the earth above the cave chambers. Clear pools reflect the ceiling, creating the illusion of floating in a weightless, silent, and undefined space of stone. Unchanged by tourism, there are no pathways or lights here. You must crawl through the cold mud to see its pure beauty. A raw adventure into the deep, dark veins of the earth, where time has stood still for thousands of silent years. In Amambay, sandstone mountains rise like giant fingers from the forest, guarding the history and identity of a resilient nation. This is Cerro Corá, a place of blood and memory, where the final chapter of the Triple Alliance War was written in blood. In 1870, Marshal Francisco Solano Lopez fell here, his dying words on the riverbank, "I die with my country," echoing through time. But these rocks hold secrets far older, preserving cave carvings from 10,000 years ago, left by ancient, forgotten people. For the Pai Tavatera tribe, this is the center of the world, where the gods created man and set foot upon the earth. The carvings on the rock walls are the diary of their ancestors, a link to the spirit world, gods, and creation. The red stone ruins and green forest create a landscape of tragic beauty and national pride, echoing the old bloody wars. Cerro Corá is the shrine of Paraguayan identity, where a nation's pain became its strength, resilience, and ultimate pride. A pilgrimage to the source, where the stones speak of war, survival, and ancient gods that still guard the land. Under the golden sun of Itapúa, red brick ruins emerge from the green grass like ghosts of a forgotten, colonial past. Trinidad and Jesus de Tavarangüe, ruins of the Jesuit missions, a UNESCO World Heritage Site of immense historical value. Here, a daring social experiment took place, blending Catholic faith with the Guaraní spirit in a planned utopian city. These were not just churches, but fully planned cities for thousands of indigenous people, structured, organized, and prosperous. Guaraní carvers decorated the sandstone with angels playing native instruments, tropical fruits, and biblical characters with skilled hands. At Jesus de Tavarangüe, the great church remains roofless, abandoned when the Jesuits were expelled in 1767, left to freeze in time. Stroll through the crumbling columns. Hear the echoes of a golden age that was lost to time, politics, and empires. If there is one symbol that captures the delicate strength of the Paraguayan soul, it is the beautiful Ñanduti lace. In Guarani, it means spiderweb, a lace of vibrant colors woven by hand, unique to this land and all the world. Legend says it was born from a mother's love, trying to copy the spiderwebs in the forest for her son's wedding gift. For generations, women have passed down this art, turning simple thread into masterpieces of color, pattern, and beauty. Stretched over a wooden frame, their skilled hands weave the needle in a hypnotic, rhythmic pattern of creation and life. Unlike white European lace, Ñanduti is a burst of tropical colors, reflecting nature, flowers, and the vibrant environment. Every pattern tells a story. Jasmines, corn, the eyes of birds, or the rays of the warm tropical sun. A single tablecloth can take months of tireless work, a testament to patience, skill, and the strength of women. In Itagua, the capital of Ñanduti, the lace hangs in the streets like colorful hollows in the wind, welcoming visitors. In the heat of the Chazo or Asunción, a familiar sound echoes through the afternoon, calling all people to gather. The clink of ice and the slurp of a metal straw, the ritual of tereré begins, cooling the hot air in friendship. Recognized by UNESCO, this cold mate tea is the social glue of Paraguay, uniting people of all backgrounds and classes. Ground yerba mate leaves are